A new approach to organizational excellence. This social responsibility action plan was submitted to Adler University by Todd Rogers in partial fulfillment of the requirements for the degree of Master of Arts in Industrial and Organizational Psychology. According to Yuval Noah Harari, historian, philosopher, academic, and best-selling author of the book Sapiens, A Brief History of Mankind, the single most characteristic of humans that allowed them to dominate all other species is their ability to cooperate flexibly and in large numbers. Their ability to organize. Organizational excellence has become not only an ideal, but a science and industry unto itself. But according to Rudy Karzan, the heart of this discipline is at risk. Rudy Karzan is a human capital innovator who revolutionized the global human resource space and grew his organization, Connexa, to become one of the world's most significant HR firms. In 2016, Karzan gave a TED Talk in which he posited a new paradigm for organizational excellence, one that was focused on employee experience. From his vantage point, humans were in the golden age of their species, but the biggest risk moving forward as a civilization was not the challenge of climate change, food production, or energy production, but the lack of meaningful work, particularly as the pace of technology makes many jobs obsolete. The new and future problem then, according to Karzan, is how to organize and achieve organizational excellence around meaningful work. He is not alone in his opinion. Deloitte's 2019 Global Human Capital Trends Report opens with the following observations. In 2019, an intensifying combination of economic, social, and political issues is challenging business strategies. Faced with the relentless acceleration of artificial intelligence, cognitive technologies, and automation, 86% of respondents to this year's Global Human Capital Trends Survey believe they must reinvent their ability to learn. They also say, after nearly 10 years of economic growth, and despite a pervasive corporate focus on digital transformation, 84% of respondents told us they need to rethink their workforce experience to improve productivity. And further down, they say, while these may seem like timeless human capital problems, today they are rising in a whole new context, the social enterprise whose mission combines revenue growth, profit-making, and the need to respect and support its environment and stakeholder network. Per Deloitte, this is forcing organizations to move beyond mission statements and philanthropy, to learn to lead social enterprises and reinvent themselves around a human focus. So again, a new idea for organizational excellence is emerging that centers on not only learning and business values, but employee experiences and social impact. The Deloitte report goes on to identify what they define as 5 human principles for the social enterprise as benchmarks for reinvention in this new organizational landscape. The number 1 principle is a focus on giving individuals and organizations a sense of purpose in their work, going beyond profit to a focus on doing good things for all stakeholders, including society. This is, as Arthur Adler pointed out, social interest in its raw form. This SRP then will seek to operationalize this charge by defining a theory of change and an evidence-based change intervention plan that reflects this new understanding of organizational excellence, one that centers on productivity, employee engagement and actualization through meaningful work, social impact through social innovation, and human-centered business innovation. The theory of change will take a systems thinking approach to understanding 4 critical components for impacting change and their interdependency. The components include a leadership approach that draws from emerging thinking around systemic leadership models, systems leadership practices, and mythopoetic leaders. A focus on social enterprise values, with new rights, rituals, and rewards to enculturate those values. Questing environments that take their cue from human-centered design, lean startup, the maker movement, and Montessori learning theory, as well as involve coaching and high-performance teaming methodologies. And finally, a focus on social capitalism that expands diversity of thought, connection, and collaboration through vibrant internal and external networks. The key to understanding how this theory of change and change intervention plan is a social action plan is to drill down on the values prescribed. These values should reflect trends toward a more social enterprise. But what might that look like? A good weather vane test is to see what's being talked about at TED. In 2016, Rachel Hutchinson, VP of Corporate Citizenship and Philanthropy at Blackbaud, was talking about how the future of corporate responsibility was employee-led or trickle-up social activism, employees guiding the company in doing what's right based off of their passion around what they feel is meaningful. As early as 2010, Chade-Meng Tan, philanthropist, thought leader, and former originator of Google's groundbreaking mindfulness-based emotional intelligence course, was talking about the growth of that program called Search Inside Yourself as a response to the compassion-led social innovation that Googlers were doing on their own as a result of the freedom of Google's maker movement-style learning environment. Finally, as recently as August 2018, Gary Liu, CEO of the South China Morning Post, was sharing about the positive social impacts of the growth of the Chinese internet, and he posed the following question to the TED audience. Just imagine, what more could be possible if the global needs of the underserved became the primary focus of our invention? So the core suggested values for this SRAP will reflect the ideals represented in the ongoing conversation already in motion on employee-led, compassion-based social innovation and business innovation that's focused on those in need. Human-centered design focuses on empathy, and as Chade-Meng Tan suggested at Google, compassion is empathy in action. The path to meaningful work starts here. So the first social enterprise value this SRAP will focus on is compassion. The second is connection. Connection speaks to social capitalism and the intent to build strong internal and external networks that can be applied to solving compassion-centered problems. The third value is curiosity. Curiosity speaks to the focus on learning and also finding meaningfulness and engagement in the learning journey. Courage speaks to the idea of employee leaders, boldly following their curiosity and hypothesizing, validating, sharing, and expanding and scaling trickle-up solution. And finally, commitment. Commitment speaks to the all-in, complete absorption idea of flow theory and peak human performance. The change intervention itself will take a research approach by defining strategies that include measurements and an expectation to establish baseline metrics and regularly measure and review to validate positive growth trends according to hypothesis. Additionally, the expectation will be to adjust strategy accordingly as new information or evidence presents itself. The SRAP will outline 5 strategies, each that align to one of the 4 components of the theory of change. Those 5 strategies are leadership development, culture keeping around values and environments, social capitalism, purpose-based teaming, and performance management.